Hello viewers, welcome to Core for Any Medicare App Backends API Node.js inside. Today we need to developing this here the new category add inside the issue as well as need to issue category list. Two API we need to develop inside the admin sides. And first of all need to which current to related this connect this API. We need to connect with here this API. We need to for the data needing here the admin API. We need to admin side to add this like issue categories and we need to show user sides this issue list. Now we need to create here the new API and also need to past here the icons we need to need that's one to need this here the multi-party library you also need to use here so need to write down here the where and we need to call this here the multi-party is equal to required brackets inside we need to write down here the multi-party like here's need to initialize here and also need to need this here the files need to needs where fs is equal to required creates here the brackets and fs. This library also need to imports because need to operation with your image and also need to go inside here the public's image folders inside to create here the new folders and to give this here the name as a category. Maybe set here the issues like here the create here the folder name as a issue. Otherwise need to match with here the rename to same as the database table names need to set is good categories is like here the set here. Now need to create here the multi-parts API. How to create need to explain here. First of all, so need to same as need to declare this here the post API, but we need to create this here the XURL, not XURL form encoded, but we need to call this here the form data API. We need to develop post because we need to uploading this here the image using here the form data. Need to call this here the API slash admin and we need to write down here the add issue and we need to write down here the name request and response we need to get here and to callback functions like here the write down here and first of all we need to get this here the form where form is equal to need to call this here the new multi-part party and we need to pass this here the form like here the creates variables like here. Then after need to call this here the forms dots need to methods calls as a parse. Inside we need to pass this here the request object. Then after need to get here the callbacks. We need to get here first one is the error. Second one is we need to give this here the request object all parameters and here's get this here the all files here's like here and callback functions like this here the parsers need to using here and to get this here. Now first of all need to check this here the error parameters here's helper dot throw error htmls need to first errors and to return this here the response return like this here. If here the not get any errors then to print here the all needed parameters need to print here use this here the debug logs need to set here the print here parameters logs need to print which parameters need to get inside this API need to show here need to calling this here the request object we need to print here same as need to show here the file parameters need to show need to set here the files and we need to write down here the files set here and to show this here the all files need to get here. Then after most important parts need to user access tokens are the valid for this access need to check here need to check access tokens need to pass this here the request dot headers need to pass here. Then after need to check here request objects, and we need to check here the parameters, as we need to need this here the for issue. We need to need this here the issue name. Check here these parameters are not missing, like this. Need to check here. If here okay, then we need to get here the callbacks valids. Again, we need to check here the another required parameters for the files. We need to checking here. Again, we need to maybe here make mistakes wrong. Should not check parameters. Maybe make mistake. We need to return this here callback as a users, because we need to check this here the access tokens object, like here now. And also need to check here the user type are required. So need to check here the one not I for admin access. Now need to check this here the helper dot check parameters valids, past here the response request object and response here. Then after need to check this here the parameters issue underscore name, and we need to if valid then to get this here. Again same as need to check for the image parameters and to set here the files, and we need to check this here the image, like here two parameters need to check here for the here. Now we need to write down here the extract here the file extensions and file names. We need to get here. First of all, we need to write down here where file extension. We need to write down here extension is equal to, need to write down here the file, get this here the value variables, and to get here the image get of 0 value, and we need to check here the original file name parameters. Need to access here and to call this here the sub string brackets file name files dot image 0 of value, and we need to get this here the original name, like here the getting here. Then after the last index of value need to find out here last index of dots, and we need to +1, like here the write downs, and to set here this value and to extract this here the file extensions. Then after need to set here the icon names where file name is equal to, need to write down here the double quotes, need to write here the name as a need to pass this here the issue and slash, and to create this here the helper dot, need to call this here the file extension generators and pass here the extensions. Need to set here file extensions variables and to creating this here the file name. Then after need to create this here the save path, need to write down here file save file path, like here we need to call this here the image path plus include this here the file name, and we need to creating like this here this access. Now we need to save these files with renames. We need to call here these methods dot rename, and we need to pass this here the value files dot image, and we need to set here the 0 dot path, and then after need to get this here the save file path, we need to give this here and to return this here the callback errors and like this value. Now we need to check against here the if gets any errors, then to returning this here. If not gets any errors, then to call this here the else part, so need to execute here. Inside we need to write down here db dot query, and we need to write here the insert into maybe need to open this here the database tables is good. Here's these tables. Now need to go SQLs and to select this here the insert query. Need to remove this here the cat ID, issue name, image, status, and this not needs need to remove here and remove this also these parameters. Need to set here the question mark like here and use this query directly. And we need to put here. Now we need to pass this here the value. First of all, we need to give this here the category names, object dot issue name, like this parameters names, and to pass here the 0 because this is the form data, and to get this value here the multiples value, and to get this here the first index value need to get here because this value are the array inside the get here. That's why I need to set here the directly value set here. Then after, so need to give this here the save path. You need to file names, you need to save here, not save path use like here, need to saving inside the database. Now this is are the done, and we need to check here the errors and results like here. If need to get here the errors, then we need to again check here this error logs, print here else part. If gets here the result, then means here the success. We fully insert this data inside the database. Response object need to use here, and we need to pass this here the success response status, and need to set here the 1 for success. Message need to give this here. Add new issue successfully, like here the write down here. And now need to set here the payload, and we need to write down here the value get underscore id, and to pass this here result dot insert id like here colon, then after the get name request no objects, and we need to get this here the issue name, zero index value, then after the image is equal to need to write down here the file path, file names, not file path, like here. So to returning this here the success. If here the fails, then to return this here the 0, and we need to write down here the message new issue add fail, like here the message no need to pass here the payloads. And this add new issue API are the done for the admin side. Now need to developing this here the issue list gets API. We need to creating here, write down here the app dot post, and we need to write down here the slash API slash admin, and we need to get this here the issue list, and we need to call this here the request and response like here. Call this here the helper dot delogs, and to print this here the request dot body like here. Now we need to check this here the access tokens if valid, then to continue here the next part request dot headers, and we need to pass this here the response object, then to get this here the valid user data we need to get here, and we need to always check here this admin API. We need to always need to use here the admin access token, admin auth token to access this API. Like this, we need to validation done. Now we need to get this here the list. We need to call this here the DB query, and to write down here the select query. Now we need to go inside here the this database and to call this here the select, copy this where conditions, and to put this here need to removing this here the modified dates no needs. We need to clean here created dates needs. Now need to pass here the status not equal to 2. Then to get this all records need to get here parameters are the blank, and then after need to check here errors and results need to returning this here like here calls, and again we need to write down here check here if get here the error, and to call this here the helper dot throw HTML errors, return here the parameters inside pass this here the errors and response, and return these functions. Now check here if here result gets them to response.json, and we need to call this here the API status set here the 1, and payload also need to pass here as a result like here, and we need to creating like this here the issue list API need to done here. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.